on abortion rights. Evers signed an executive order today calling for that. The state currently has an abortion ban on the books dating back to 1849. The ban was superseded by the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a Roe versus Wade decision. But if a draft opinion suggesting that Roe will be overturned holds, it will be would put that statewide ban back into place, criminalizing abortion. This afternoon, we have balanced news coverage.
A decision from the Supreme Court could be released in the coming weeks, and time is of the essence to protect reproductive care and services for our family members, friends, neighbors they need and deserve.
Evers' orders calls for the session to start 2 weeks from today, starting at noon. Republican Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu responded to Evers' order, saying that the Senate would not take any action in what he called another blatantly political special session call for this partisan governor. Evers has called several special sessions during his time in office. All have ended within seconds.
99.9% of the people in this community want peace.
A study shows suspects and victims are mostly men, and a majority are black.
54% are black, despite the fact that the city of Greenbay is only 4% black.
A detailed look at the gun issues in Greenbay, topping tonight's Fox 11 News at 9.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight here at 9. Gun violence data from the past 3 years in Green Bay was analyzed and presented to the City Council tonight. Despite an increase in gun violence the past few years, the study found that Green Bay has a homicide rate about half of that of the national rate. Fox 11's Ben Krumholtz has a balanced look at tonight's presentation.
A deep dive of Green Bay's gun violence shows a high percentage of those involved are men, black, and familiar with the criminal justice system. That's according to David Muhammad, Executive Director of the National Institute of Criminal Justice Reform, the group that partnered with Green Bay Police for the study.
Well, the vast majority of black men in Green Bay are not involved in gun violence. It's a small population, and a good number of these incidents could be identified ahead of time. The violence is somewhat predictable.
The study looked at Green Bay's 8 homicides, 23 non-fatal injury shootings, and 129 other shots fired incidents from 2019 through 2021. Almost 90% of the homicide and non-fatal injury shooting victims and suspects were male, nearly 55% were black, and 75% were known to the system. Between 42 and 61% of the shootings involved groups. The study identified 11 specific groups actively involved in the city's gun violence.
Some of them are more structured crews that have been around for a while and connected to outside areas.
The study found 70% of the gun violence suspects are Green Bay residents, meaning 30% are from out of town.
It's very comprehensive.
Council members expressed their appreciation for the deep look at the issue.
And we are below the national average on some of this stuff, but one of the things that I don't ever want our community to do is become desensitized to a growth in crime that we don't want in our community.
As for what's next, Police Chief Chris Davis says he likes the study's recommendations of creating a gun violence reduction unit, implementing a reduction strategy, and increasing investment in community resources.
I agree with all the recommendations because I think there are things that have been shown to work in other places.
The police department has already formed a neighborhood response team to look at gun violence. They hope to up the number of officers on the team from 2 to 4.
It's been 2 weeks since a gunman killed 19 elementary school children and 2 teachers at Robb Elementary School. Shortly after that, 4 people were killed at a medical facility in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The gunman going after a doctor and anyone who got in his way. Followed by shootings in Philadelphia and Chattanooga, Tennessee.
It's mostly about a copycat thing. That person is famous now, so I want to be famous as well.
President of Psychology Associates and psychologist Frank Cummings offers this as a possibility after the attention the Uvalde shooter received. He adds mass shooters live in what he calls the video or web world, saying they don't live in reality.
You see individuals that are mass shooters are people that are lonely, they're frustrated, and they want some kind of fame, and so they can be put in some kind of history book.
Cummings says the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. It lines up with what Texas Governor Greg Abbott said the day after the Uvalde shooting, referencing social media.
The first post was to the point of, he said, "I'm going to shoot my grandmother." The second post was, "I shot my grandmother." The third post, maybe less than 15 minutes before arriving at the school, was, "I'm going to shoot an elementary school."
The looming question is, could we soon be seeing the end of the line when it comes to mass shootings? Cummings saying it's not a simple answer.
What ends up happening with copycats is they want to see their name in lights, but they don't want to pay the consequences for it. So will these things continue? The answer is yes. And how we deal with that as a society is really the question.
Something many are hoping to find the solution to.